That's right, mate. That's fucking right. Fucking right, mate. Got the tunes for you. Where my fucking UK is at, mate? Where the fuck? Get the fuck in here, mate. That's right.
Sack up. Nut up or shut up.
Get the fuck in here, mate. You gotta get in. We're starting the show. That's right. It's fucking CHEWSDAY. That's right. Lots going on. Got war. We got a low mic. All kinds of problems. What happened to the mic? Hello? Double time. Hold on. Sometimes it's literally not plugged in. That's not it. Maybe it's just the music. It is. It's the music, I guess. All right. Bye, music. Oh, look what's up. Let's go. Double time. There's no news. What the fuck? All right. NBC Live. Here we go.
That's what he's going to need. He's going to need something like that, I think, realistically here, because again, Mercer County is running at 6% right now. He's running at 6%. He obviously would like Hamawi's number to drop in Mercer, for that matter, as the election day vote gets tabulated there too. He doesn't want Hamawi getting too far away from him in any of these other counties. But and for that matter, if it comes to it in a close race, again, Union County, 6% or so of the vote here. Hamawi running at 18%, and where's Cohen? 1%. See, this is small county, but that's consequential. If this is close at all, that's consequential. So again, I think those numbers right now, as that pattern that we're seeing presents itself, it's much more favorable to Hamawi than to Cohen. The pattern would have to change in the remaining half of the vote that gets tabulated for that to shift. But an interesting race right there, and again, this in a heavily Democratic district. So, in all likelihood, winning this primary is tantamount to becoming a member of Congress.
Just a reminder, it's 8:47 now. We're coming up at the top of 9. We will have to do a check-in again with News Now just prior to the top of the hour. And then we'll have Iowa polls closed.
Right. Okay. So
Iowa.
Adam took you through that, and I think the News Now one is going to be a little lengthy at the top of the hour here.
It's 9
think so,
p.m.
Yeah.
Okay.
9 p.m. Eastern.
How do we split this? I don't know if we've had this challenge. This is an interesting story, but I also have a feeling that our
the
viewers
Kornacki cam.
Are more interested in the outcome of that Democratic Senate primary in Iowa. It's just that this is, as we say,
He's a
Democratic
streamer
district.
now.
So I have a bias towards when I see a close race.
You love to see
right? I want to stay on it just because I have a bias towards something that's very close and very competitive. But at the same time, in 12 minutes, we could start getting numbers out of Iowa. Now, I think Iowa's going to be a little bit slow going with its returns. But we will shift towards that and err on the side of showing you Iowa, I think, and then obviously jumping back here anytime we get anything. But again, the next big things here, anything we get from Middlesex or from Mercer or from Somerset County, potentially even decisive, we get a big batch of vote here. I think it'll clarify the situation that we've outlined. So
Hillary Herzog.
I'm just going to zoom out. And
Hillary
South
Herzog.
Dakota. Is that coming at 9?
Okay.
Might get some South Dakota. If we're lucky, we'll get some New Mexico.
So let me just show you in South Dakota here.
I wonder who updates these maps.
It's an interesting race here for governor, for the same reason the Iowa Republican governor's race is. There's a 35% threshold here. Now, unlike Iowa, if nobody gets 35% in the South Dakota Republican gubernatorial primary, they just kick it over to a runoff, I think in 8 weeks from now. So.
Is that how it works?
It's not a state convention, but this has runoff potential. Now, this is, remember, Joni Ernst, excuse me. Kristi Noem was the governor of South Dakota before she joined the Trump administration. It opened the job. Larry Roden became his lieutenant governor. He became the governor when that happened.
Here come the videos.
John Hanson is the state house speaker. Dusty Johnson is the at-large member of Congress from South Dakota.
At-large.
Toby Doden is running. He's a self-funded campaign, or a largely self-funded campaign, again, aimed squarely. He's tried to position himself here as the most staunchly, adamantly pro-Trump candidate, the sort of populist, grassroots conservative candidate in this race. He's the one who's been moving in the polls out here. Okay,
Dusty.
So you got Doden as sort of the outsider, Johnson the congressman, John Hanson, of course, the veteran state legislator, and Larry Roden, the.
If that doesn't tell you something about South Dakota, I don't know what does. And the fact that Larry thought that was a good shot of himself. And Dusty.
The interim governor, who moved into the
get
job
some headshots.
when Noem went to the administration. But does anyone get 35% here tonight? So we'll be watching the South Dakota primary as well. Iowa, we're also. I mentioned Iowa for the Senate race. We've taken you through the Senate race. There are some House races in Iowa that are going to be very significant this November. We're just not looking at particularly competitive
actual cowboys, says a chatter.
But there are
Correct.
four. I'll call them. There are four. Wait, they're tough to see when it's all sort
partially
of
image,
of
I'm
orange,
sure.
of yellow. But
just
there
like
are
the Christians,
four different districts here, as we say. This one, Mariannette Miller Meeks, is the one I wanted to show you here. She's got Republican opposition in the primary, but it's not considered to be a serious threat to her. She won by less than 1,000 votes.
No. Those Cowboys don't exist there.
And she faces a rematch here, Christina Bohannon, who nearly beat her in 2024.
You might find one of those guys. They're probably actually.
This one we're going to be talking.
Yeah, the Cowboys are Mexican Cowboys up there, and the Cowboys are the owners. The Cowboys.
Talking about at least as much as NJ. It looks like you got something out of it.
Yeah, we just got an update in Somerset County. It's small. It's 200 votes, but I think it is Election Day vote.
Okay.
So if you went to the one Mexican bar there, you would find the Cowboys.
I really should have.
I can.
Nope. That's okay. All right. So you're talking about the 12th district.
Yes. Sorry.
So what?
And the ranchers.
What was the election day vote update?
Those white guys aren't working their ranches.
No. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not doubting you.
It's 214 election day votes, so it is small.
Yeah.
Hemingway gets
right, chat
35%, and he was getting 36%.
Trying to call on my UK
in our first report.
Fellas, he was getting
less.
Used to have a couple UK droppers. Where you at, mate? Get your ass in here.
Yes, there is that interim report that
I want to talk to someone over the pond there.
He seems to be doing
that. He fell behind Robinson.
Right. Okay. So the pre-election, the in-person early, we established.
Yes.
He was at about 36% with that.
Yes.
The mail went for Robinson.
That's right. And he got 18%, and he's back at 35.
Now we're back at poll, and that's first place here in that.
Yes.
In that, it gets small, but okay. That's well. Look, we're trying to sort of
Kornacki
gain this
is
one
famous,
out, folks, saying if the pattern changes in the second half here, and if it changes in any way that changes that's more beneficial to Hamawi, then he's got this thing.
Who am I caring about this?
It's already been favorable to Hamawi.
New Jersey.
That would be very favorable to him. If in that county, Somerset County, he does even better. So Iowa closing here in 723. That Senate race, obviously.
Okay, we'll come back to this. We'll get some more information. I can't tell if we're winning or losing, so it's not fun. I mean, leftists. Yeah, true. It's true. Lots of cow milking going on.
Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. Israel's military continued its attacks on Lebanon overnight, killing at least 8 people, even after President Trump said both sides had, quote, agreed that all shooting will stop, unquote. Among the dead is James Karam, a dentist who was killed along with his daughter and son.
Holy shit. Chat. Damn.
When an Israeli drone bombed their car in southern Lebanon. Another Israeli attack killed 2 people and damaged the Jabal Amel University Hospital entire.
Otherwise, we wouldn't have
Lebanon's
chickens.
health ministry reports Israeli strikes have killed more than 3,400 people since March 2nd. Over 10,000 have been wounded.
They roam during the day.
Axios is reporting during an expletive-laden call, Trump told Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, quote, "You're effing crazy. You'd be in prison if it weren't for me. I'm saving your ass. Everybody hates you now. Everybody hates Israel because of this," unquote. The president reportedly said. After the call, Trump said in a social media post that he'd had a productive phone call with Netanyahu and that, quote, there will be no troops going to Beirut, unquote. Trump's comment came after Netanyahu and Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz said they had ordered massive airstrikes on Beirut's southern suburb.
I'm just here.
On Capitol Hill, Michigan Democratic Congressmember Rashida Tlaib is calling on Congress to pass a Lebanon War Powers resolution this week. She wrote, quote, "Our country should not be assisting or supporting indiscriminate bombings and forced displacement anywhere, including Lebanon,"
Let's go, Queen.
unquote. Meanwhile, The United Nations Security Council held an emergency meeting Monday to discuss Lebanon. UN Assistant Secretary General Martha Pobey said Israel's violating a UN Security Council resolution that was aimed at stopping Israel's invasion of Lebanon 2 decades ago.
Israel's presence north of the Blue Line is a clear violation of Lebanon's sovereignty and territorial integrity, as well as of Security Council Resolution 1701. Israeli forces must withdraw to south of the Blue Line.
What a cool name.
Iranian diplomats have suspended talks with the United States after warning Israel's attacks on Lebanon and the Gaza Strip could doom ongoing ceasefire negotiations with the Trump administration.
On my stream.
Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi said Monday the U.S. has already violated its ceasefire with Iran when it imposed a naval siege on Iranian ports. He also said Israel's attacks on Lebanon constitute a ceasefire violation on a separate front, after headlines will go to Beirut to speak with the Associated Press.
Depends on the breed,
Kareem Shahaib's latest piece is headline, Trump says Israel and Hezbollah have agreed to dial back fighting.
They've been raised together.
In Gaza, at least 3 Palestinians died in separate Israeli attacks earlier today as Palestinian monitoring groups documented 11 new ceasefire violations over the past 24 hours. Among the attacks was an Israeli drone strike on a civilian vehicle east of Deir al-Balah that injured displaced families living nearby in makeshift shelters. Israel's carried out strikes on most of the 237 days since it agreed to a U.S.-brokered Gaza ceasefire last October.
Look at those buildings. These used to be like 4-story buildings, 10-story buildings, like these over here on the right. Look at them. They're just half.
Here in New York, the far-right Israeli finance minister, Bezalel Smotrich, marched in the annual Israel Day parade Sunday alongside other Israeli far-right ministers and cabinet officials. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, Governor Kathy Hochul, and New York State Attorney General Letitia James were among several prominent Democrats who marched in the same parade as Smotrich, who has been sanctioned by multiple...
Literal Nazi parade. Notice that they weren't able to call it the Jewish parade. Notice that. No one mentioned that, but I'm sure there's a reason for it. Because most Jews in New York would be like, nah. I would assume. I mean,
multiple countries for inciting settler violence against Palestinians. The lead organizer of the parade told the New York Times he did not know that Smotrich and other Israeli far-right officials were planning to march. New York City Mayor Zoran Mamdani, who boycotted the event, said he was offended by the presence of Israeli officials at the parade.
We have a right to exist.
Participation of the far-right Israeli minister Smotrich, as well as a number of other ministers, a vision of annihilation, a complicity in genocide, and frankly, a belief that does not have much value for even the sanctity of children in Gaza. And I am offended, as I know many New Yorkers are, by their participation.
In Ukraine, a wave of Russian strikes has killed at least 18 people and injured dozens in Kyiv, Dnipro, Zaporizhzhia, Poltava, and Kharkiv. Overnight, Russia launched 73 missiles and 656 drones at Ukraine. This is Alina. Her building was damaged by a Russian strike.
I woke up from my bed and decided to move to the corridor. I heard explosions coming closer and closer. I turned my back to the window to go to the apartment door. At that moment, there was an explosion, which threw me against the door. But I'm fine now.
Russia's latest assault once again prompted Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky to ask President Trump to send Patriot interceptors.
Yeah, I learned something about Ukraine the other day that kind of made me like a little sus on them than I used to be. I used to be a whatever, give Ukraine weapons. Yeah, Russia sucks. But every time I have that instinct as a leftist, I try to stay true to my beliefs, which are no war at all, which actually means don't send weapons to anyone. In fact, don't make weapons whatsoever. Especially offensive weapons. Okay. So anyway, I regret it. That's my point.
Which are capable of blocking ballistic missiles. Trump has so far ignored Zelensky's pleas, despite the fact that Ukraine is running out of interceptors.
Like, Ukraine isn't like as innocent as they appear. You know what I mean? In this scenario. Basically, there's no way for me to even talk about it without sounding like a Russia simp, because I'm not. But I'll say one thing. It feels like Ukraine has been used as the tip of the spear to pressure Russia by the U.S.
Trump is reportedly reconsidering his $1.8 billion slush fund to compensate his supporters who took part in the January 6th insurrection.
It's toast.
This comes as the Justice Department also said it would temporarily pause the program to comply with a court order. The fund was set up as a settlement following Trump's $10 billion lawsuit against his own IRS over the leak of his tax returns.
Yeah,
Federal
Poland
Judge
isn't so
Kathleen
hot, right?
Williams reopened the case last week after a bipartisan group.
But that's the problem, is some of those countries, under the guise of, well, the same way that Trump thinks, you know, they're run by terrible leaders, you know, he could go, well, I'm just going to take Poland.
Group of 35 former federal judges urged her to look more closely.
And think about how naked we are right now. Like military, like in a military standpoint, we're so naked because we've shown how weak we are, right, to Russia. Not only are weak, have we been weak with Russia on diplomacy? Because Trump's been like, oh, I love Russia. He's great. Putin's awesome. And, you know, I give Trump reasons for not liking fucking Zelensky either, but obviously he likes Putin.
At the settlement. Anthropic, the AI company behind Claude, filed confidentially for an initial public offering Monday, less than a week after raising $65 billion in funding that pushed its valuation to $965 billion. Anthropic's IPO plans come as...
By the way, there's some bullshit going around X. You might know something about this. About how certain funds are going to be required to buy a good percentage of this. And those funds are also IRAs, right?
Several major stock market index providers have recently changed rules excluding unprofitable companies. The changes could allow Elon Musk's private AI and rocket company SpaceX, which is about to go public, to be added to the indexes much sooner than they typically would, which means millions of Americans invested in retirement funds could end up owning a piece of SpaceX, whether they choose to or not. This comes as Vermont's independent Senator Bernie Sanders announced a new bill that would create a sovereign wealth fund by imposing a one-time 50% tax on the stock of OpenAI, Anthropic, and other AI companies. In an op-ed for the New York Times, Senator Sanders writes, the fund would, quote, give the public a direct role in determining the future of this technology and guarantee that the trillions of dollars potentially generated by AI are used to improve the lives of us all, not simply to make the richest people in the world even richer, unquote. Meanwhile, Florida became the first state to sue OpenAI and its CEO, Sam Altman, alleging they know ChatGPT is not safe, especially for children. This is Florida's Attorney General.
Just as safe as the internet.
We recently filed a monumental civil lawsuit against Sam Altman and ChatGPT for endangering our kids and deceiving parents into believing that this application is safe for use. It's clearly not. People are getting hurt. Parents are getting...
I firmly believe that LLMs are not going anywhere. Although I see perils with AI, and I hate AI slop art. It sucks. I do see a need for AI and where it will fit in. And especially now that NVIDIA is going to literally release a fucking AI chip with a built-in like GPU and like it runs games on a laptop on ARM? Say what? Like, I know enough about computer architecture that this is a game changer. Massive. Most companies aren't going to be able to sell any laptop without that in it in the near future. Those chips, those LLMs, local. I also predict that NVIDIA will use those LLMs, those computes on those laptops. They'll eventually offer a service where they could use them for the cloud as part of the... Like, there's a point in time where the network would be fast enough that you could just have those LLMs sitting in the house.
Getting deceived.
Instead of being in a data center. So you could have 1 million GPUs running as a data center. And that would be serving as the backbone for the LLM or the GPT. In other words, you wouldn't be wasting infrastructure on a location. You would be spreading it out. And since the networks are getting so fast.
And they need to pay for it.
Anyway, little rant.
The mayor of Newark, New Jersey is announcing his city.
Yeah, what do you think about that? 90% of coders now are going to need that. 99% of them. 100% of them. You're a coder right now and you don't buy the Spark, you're toast.
City's legal strategy aimed at shutting down the Delaney Hall ICE jail.
You can't get paid.
The for-profit immigration detention center has been the focus of massive protests demanding justice for immigrants who've launched a hunger strike to protest inhumane conditions.
It's pretty much, what is it there, 800 chip?
Medical neglect inside the jail and demanding their freedom. On Monday, Newark Mayor...
I mean, you could even buy 30 of them and use them all as a massive network at your house.
Ross Baraka said his city's police department will exercise a greater span of control over the perimeter of Delaney Hall.
You just buy the fucking desktop version.
Federal agents and New Jersey State Police repeatedly attacked demonstrators outside with horses, clubs, pepper spray, and other so-called less lethal weapons.
All that matters is you got access to the chip.
In a statement, Mayor Baraka said, quote, police tactics over this last weekend were overly aggressive, unnecessary, and in some instances unconstitutional.
What I feel is happening with AI right now, also to finish my thought, and you know, I rant on here because it's getting recorded. They're gonna shift. Elon Musk and OpenAI and all these fuckwits that are starting it out. They're just trying to get as much money out of this bullshit system they got going. Like, eventually, they're not going to need as much compute. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're using a lot of hyperbole to sell this. It's very good at certain things, and it will never be good at other things. I don't know what those are, but 90% of what they're telling you it's going to be good at it, it's not going to be good at probably. It's going to be something different. Dude, I remember the internet coming up, so.
Constitutional, he said. But the mayor said a 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. curfew would remain in effect until further notice. In Ghana, human rights groups warn a new law criminalizing LGBTQ+ activity could devastate queer communities. The sweeping legislation approved Friday makes it a crime to identify as non-binary, lesbian, gay, bisexual, queer, trans, or intersex. It also imposes prison terms of up to 10 years on anyone who, quote, promotes, unquote, LGBTQ activities. It's expected to be signed into law by Ghana's president, John Mahama. This follows.
Jensen is signaling hard that gaming is going to be offloaded to the AI chip.
Similar legislation recently passed in other African nations, including Senegal and Burkina Faso. In 2023, Uganda passed a law making it a crime to identify as queer, declaring all same-sex conduct to be non-consensual, and even allowing for the death penalty in certain cases. Critics have called it a kill the gays bill. This is Ugandan LGBTQ activist Hansen Fuma.
At first, it was Uganda with the harshest kill gay bill in the whole world that contains a death penalty and a life imprisonment. Apparently, we are seeing Ghana jumping onto this same running track. And all African leaders are quiet in whatever is happening.
Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has designated the Pentagon press office a classified space, physically barring journalists from an area that's been freely accessible to reporters across multiple administrations. In a statement, Reporters Without Borders said, quote, no matter how petulant Pete gets, journalists will continue their tenacious reporting and hold the Pentagon accountable for the money, operations, and lives they impact every day, unquote. Separately, a federal court temporarily blocked the Pentagon from discharging transgender service members while still allowing the administration to continue banning transgender people from entering the military. It's come as Hegseth...
Literally. That's what they said anyway. Yeah, they said it's they've been working with Microsoft because Microsoft has been writing Windows for ARM.
Also struck several female and black Navy officers from a promotions list. Rhode Island Senator Jack Reed said in a recent testimony, quote, nearly 60% of the senior officers Hegseth has fired are female or black.
Also, multi-core gaming is coming on Unreal 6. Unreal Editor 6.
60 Minutes correspondent Scott Pelley openly revolted against CBS News leadership Monday at a staff meeting meant to introduce the show's newly appointed executive producer Nick Bilton. Bilton is a tech journalist installed by CBS's editor-in-chief, Barry Weiss, after she fired the show's two top correspondents, Sharon Alfonsi and Cecilia Vega, alongside executive producer Tanya Simon. When Bilton reportedly told the staff Weiss loves CBS News and 60 Minutes, Pelley shot back, quote, she's murdering 60 Minutes. She does not love this place. She was brought in to kill it, and she's been doing exactly that, unquote. Pelley also declared that Bilton would never be welcome here, unquote. The winners of the 2026 News and Documentary Emmy Awards have been announced. This year's Outstanding Investigative Documentary Prize goes to Critical Incident, A Death at the Border, produced by HBO Documentary Films. The film examines the alleged cover-up of the murder of Anastasio Hernandez Rojas. And
it's probably
a documented Mexican immigrant who died while in U.S. custody at the border. His 2010 death occurred under the watch of Rodney Scott, the man who now heads Customs and Border Protection under President Trump. The film's directed...
Like I said, unbeknownst to us, I know a lot of that rendering is being offloaded to the AI chip on those. So that's why you can have a 5070 on there, a 20-core ARM CPU, and then since they're also closer to each other and you don't have a memory bus problem, they're kissing each other. You can also run it lower.
Dr. Rick Rowley.
ARM is good, actually. I'm not going to lie. I'm prepared to jump ship on ARM to ARM.
Accepted the award.
Cruelty and violence have festered at the heart of U.S. immigration enforcement for so long.
Shit. Yeah. No shit, dude. This is crazy.
And part of it is because of the impunity and the secrecy that have surrounded these organizations. And so I need to thank this incredible team for pulling back the veil and exposing that organization.
To see our interview with Rick Rowley, Director of Critical Incident to Death at the Border, go to democracynow.org. And voters head to the polls in several states today for primary elections. California faces a crowded field in the race to replace outgoing Governor Gavin Newsom under the state's jungle primary system. The two candidates who receive the most votes today will advance to the general election, regardless of party. In Los Angeles, 13 candidates are looking to unseat incumbent Mayor Karen Bass. Polls show Bass is in a close race with City Council member Nithya Raman and reality TV personality Spencer
Windows
Pratt.
just runs like
In
Windows.
Iowa, Republicans and Democrats are selecting candidates to replace Republican Senator Joni Ernst, who's retiring. There are also primary elections in Montana, New Jersey, New Mexico, and South Dakota. And those are some of the headlines. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org.
That'd be great. Okay, here we go. The dam is breaking. Do I run games via emulator? I've used many emulators in my life.
Kim Jong-un, who I get along with very well, as you know. Do you notice he said very nice things about...
The best one's on Steam. Oh, does it run games via?
About me. He used to call Joe Biden a mentally retarded person, okay? So,
all this talk...
He used the R word. I want to be able to use the R word. No one lets me use it. It feels so good when I use that
talk about nuclear weapons has North Korea probably feeling pretty good about itself right now. North Korea refused to denuclearize, and they're looking at Iran going like, you guys were stupid. You should have built that nuclear bomb when you had the chance. Perhaps that would have been a deterrent. At the same time, Trump is dismantling missile defense systems in South Korea because we have a shortage of them and we need them desperately to fight this offensive criminal war in Iran. But he loves Kim Jong-un still, Trump. And he can't get him off his mind. And he has an anecdote, trigger warning if you're not into ableist language, but Trump is touting the one material benefit of his return to power, which we heard about from the anonymous Wall Street banker that was quoted about what you can do now that Trump is back in office. Our freedoms have been unleashed in America, baby.
We're winning like we never won before.
And Trump is demonstrating that freedom throughout.
You're so tired of winning this hard. I told you we'd be winning this good. He's fucking delusional, chat.
Action.
Think of it. And it's not just NATO. You know who else didn't help us?
You know how he's fucking raving mad. Look at that. Head down. Looking through his... Bro comes at you like that. You're fired.
South Korea didn't help us. You know who else didn't help us? Australia didn't help us. You know who else didn't help us? Japan. We got 50,000 soldiers in Japan to protect them from North Korea.
They wouldn't
have
help us.
45,000 soldiers in South Korea to protect us from...
This old motherfucker. This guy thought that he was going to get all these countries to be like, yeah, we'll send some troops and ships to open the Strait of Hormuz that you closed. Hello, sir?
Kim Jong-un, who I get along with very well, as you know. You notice he said very nice things about me. He used to call Joe Biden a mentally retarded person, okay? So don't tell me about your stuff. Joe Biden, he said he's a mentally retarded person. He was so nasty to Joe Biden. It was terrible. But to me, he likes Trump. And you notice how nice things are with North Korea? It's very nice.
Very nice.
He's responding to, can we find that clip when he was asked about his mental acuity? I would imagine that that's what he's referring to. He's like, so don't talk about that that I know this is, I'm asking for
the reporter asked it?
Apparently at that press conference, he was asked about, you know, his mental state. Here, I have it actually. I'm just going to send it right now in the chat. So I would imagine that we can look at almost the time stamps here to see if that was the case. So that was 2:25 p.m. Eastern. When was that other clip? I would have that might have gotten under his skin.
This was right before.
Right before. So there we go. This is exactly why he reacted this way and said the R word. That response was at 2:29 p.m. 2 minutes before. This was what Trump was responding to.
Tremendous mental state. My mental state is tremendous.
You called the Iranians crazy bastards.
Those crazy bastards.
What is your response to critics who say that...
I don't care about critics.
What is your response to critics who say that it is your mental health that should perhaps be examined as this war continues?
I haven't heard that. But if that's the case, you're going to have more people like me, because our country was being ripped off on trade, on everything, for many years until I came along.
Trade.
So if that's the case, you're going to have more people. Dasha, go ahead.
So that the dam is breaking a little bit. Had not been asked about things like that prior to, I don't know, the past few months. Trump had just been getting questions from like Tim Pool's intern about how incredible are you? Are you going to live forever? Can we play the end of that Kim Jong-un answer now, just because I want to now get the reaction again? Where it's like, so it's nothing that you're talking about. He called Joe Biden mentally R-word. He's the real guy with the...
As you know. Do you notice he said very nice Korea?
He's looking rather alert today.
Kim Jong-un, who I get along with very well, as you know. Do you notice he said very nice things about me? He used to call Joe Biden a mentally retarded person, okay? So don't tell me about your stuff. Joe Biden, he said he's a mentally retarded person. He was so nasty to Joe Biden. It was terrible. But to me, he likes Trump. And do you notice how nice things are with North Korea? It's very nice. But we have...
You notice how nice things are? I'm sure they're thrilled that you dismantled South Korea's missile defense system.
I've never seen a con man who can get conned so easily. Like, he doesn't understand that when a brutal dictator says he likes you, it's because he's getting something from you.
Right.
And if he...
Only when he gets something. There you are, chatters. That's the best emulator. In my opinion.
He's insulting you, that means you're probably doing something right. He doesn't get it at all.
This is not the right room to praise Kamala Harris in, but one of the good things she said on the campaign trail was that he was unusually susceptible to flattery, and that's 100%.
Turns out you can bullshit a bullshitter.
Yes, I mean, he is, and by unusual you mean like almost one of one in the history books.
Yeah.
He is, and what is really disturbing about seeing how he speaks about these bombing campaigns is really how much he enjoys it. Like, part of what, Trump's political talent is his uniqueness, his ability to never apologize, his marketing savant stuff, and just like the fact that he's entertaining. He is a ridiculous...
Yes, he's entertaining, and he's predictably unpredictable. Right?
Bizarre person who has indelibly changed our culture, the way we speak, the things we say, the way that our country acts, and you can't deny that. But like he I mean, gosh, I lost my train of thought there. But he is not somebody who is thinking strategically in any way.
I can't find a source for the idea that Kim Jong-un called Joe Biden retarded.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure that's not... Right. No, what I wanted to say really is like he's such a character that it obscures how freaking goddamn evil he is all the time. Like, truly, if he had just 10% less goofiness, his bizarre form of charm, we would be in a lot better place. But... what the joy he gets when he talks about the destruction that he's wreaking in Iran just shows exactly what this guy's really all about inside. He's a mass murderer, and he gets off on it.
And I genuinely think he's misremembering the time that he got called a dotard by Kim Jong-un.
I think he's just lying.
2019.
He's just lying, and he got excited about getting to say the R word. He's delivering him on something materially for his base. Are we against that? Dmitry Bedev, Emma picked up working overtime from Trump.
What?
That was definitely a phrase before him.
I don't think that's. Does Trump say that we're working overtime? I don't know.
Will from Indiana. Yeah.
Definitely not.
I totally do all the time.
Will from Indiana, feeling particularly doom and gloom today for obvious worldwide reasons, but I just want to say thank you all for being important voices in the political sphere. Always much love to you all.
Fuck?
Thank you, Will. Always much love to you as
Breaking
well.
news, a man with a bomb allegedly strapped to his chest has taken at least one hostage inside a Chase Bank in Bakersfield, California. That's about 100 miles north of Los Angeles. Major buildings, including City Hall and police headquarters, on lockdown at this hour. It all started at about 2 p.m. local time. A hot day there, 93 degrees.
Oh, no.
Our Carter Evans has late developments now, reporting from our Los Angeles bureau. Carter, good evening to you.
Worst time for a showdown.
Well, good evening, Tony. Police say this is an active hostage situation. It's happening right now at the Chase Bank. It's in downtown Bakersfield. Now, the suspect is a man and may have a bomb strapped to his body. Over the radio. There was talk about a subject coming into the bank yelling, "Everyone stay down on the ground." Now, police say at least one hostage is involved, and they're actively negotiating right now. You're looking at video that's coming into our LA newsroom. Also on the radio, someone can be heard saying it looked like the suspect rigged a tripwire on the hostage's legs. Streets nearby are closed, and evacuations are in progress right now. Tony?
All right, Carter, thank you very much.
That's crazy. Apparently, he's got a bomb strapped to him. Yeah. Yeah, famously. Bank robberies, they work so good these days. Oh, fuck. All right, let's check in on this.
Real interesting dynamics in that Democratic primary. Other things, this Waterloo, Iowa is here. Cedar Falls, Iowa is here. The University of Northern Iowa here. There's a college town aspect to this. And you think that Wall's kind of running to the left, the more liberal candidate here from the college town, Iowa City, or the Iowa City area.
Jesus Christ.
Maybe he gets some he's not
Look how many people live there.
22% statewide.
There's like 10 people
30-point advantage. Over Walls. 15,000 vote advantage.
Too early to call.
Over Walls. Give you a sense of the scale of this, right? Polk County, you're looking at just over 40,000 votes. We think that's probably all the vote, right, that's going to come out of Polk County. That's just over 40,000 votes total that are.
Don't care about that. Let's go talk to Kyle. See what Kyle has to say tonight. What's up, Kyle Kolinsky in the house?
What you said about AOC ranking her #1 out of the primary contenders alongside
actually the boys.
Ro Khanna. And Cenk sees it very differently. I'm interested in your opinion on his analysis of her and what she represents to the progressive movement. Real quick, let's take a listen.
Stupid and looped or something?
It's already unconscionable, but I'm trying not to say too much before the election's over. But anyways, so proof's in the pudding. She can try to BS all night long, and if she wants to be a mainstream media darling and like a wolf in sheep's clothing, she's going to get caught, and not by us.
It's diabolical.
We can say whatever we want, and she
the angle on Cenk is diabolical.
She apparently hates us. I don't know. Whatever. She's a weirdo. Anyways, but
with the she's
not going to get caught by us. She's going to get caught by everyone else. We all have eyes and ears. She's got to make a decision. She makes a decision to fight for everyone. Great. All I care about is results. If she decides to kiss mainstream media's ass, we're all going to find out. And if she thinks she can deceive us,
okay.
All right, let's see how it turns out.
Maybe we'll get some context here.
So yeah, a lot of skepticism there from Cenk. And again, it's not just Cenk Uygur. There's a lot of people on the left that are very skeptical of AOC and what she represents in the progressive movement. But I do find it pretty crazy to simultaneously praise Tucker Carlson, hype up people like Candace Owens and the potential of them being presidential contenders, which has happened over and over again recently on the Young Turks. And then to basically straight up refer to AOC as a wolf in sheep's clothing. Do you think that skepticism is warranted?
Why are you bouncing all over the place?
So my initial reaction was to say it's definitely going too far.
And wearing
before
stripes.
I get any deeper on it, what story was he specifically even talking about there that led to that rant?
He was talking about he was basically blaming AOC for Chakrabarty falling off in the polls and saying that because she didn't endorse him and because of the fact that he's been touting
Silly and Billy.
their work together, this has led to the establishment being able to say, well, he's untrustworthy because even the person he used to work with, AOC, won't endorse him. And Cenk basically, again, took that totally out on AOC and is saying that it's her fault if he loses.
To be fair, I totally agree with the criticism that her not endorsing Shoykot is like inexcusable because I can't imagine, unless there's some bombshell thing that she's hiding from us that we don't know that he did, then it really strikes me as unfathomable to not endorse him, especially given who his opponents are. And I really think it has to do with the fact that, Mama Bear was like, look, he was a dick to all these other people in the Democratic caucus, and we all hate him. So if you support him, that's you spitting in all of the eyes of the people who you work with. And so that's going to cause deeper problems for you. And I think that was enough to make her fall in line. So I actually agree on the substance of saying that it's inexcusable not to endorse Shoykot. I had problems with Shoykot. I thought he threw Cenk under the bus too quickly when those old blog posts came out.
Speaking of Cenk,
me and Shoykot had issues over that. And I even said to AOC at one point, I was like, I don't trust this Shoykot motherfucker because he instantly threw Cenk under the bus as soon as those blog posts came out. And I literally said that to AOC back when we had the Justice Democrats.
Was she in favor of getting Cenk out of the way too?
No, she was I feel like she was very rational, very level-headed at the time. And she came to me and said, like, we have a problem. I was like, well, what's the problem? She said, we're basically having like a mutiny among the staff who want Cenk gone because of these old blog posts that came out. And, I remember listening to the people and like, I understood their position.
So AOC defended Cenk staying and Shoykot advocated for him to get ousted.
Yes, if my memory serves me right, it's not that she didn't even take a position. She just came to me and said, like, we have a problem, we need to address it, this is what it is, right? And Shoykot was very quick to be like, look, the project is bigger than this guy, axe this guy, let's fucking move on.
A little bit of tea.
Obviously you guys know I ended up resigning in solidarity with Cenk.
Yep.
So my point is, even I had problems with Shoykot, but in a million fucking years, I'm going to endorse him every single time over all of his disgusting establishment opponents.
Now he talks shit about Cenk too.
Endorse Shoykot. But having said that, I think your broader point is correct here, that you are in no place to call somebody like AOC a wolf in sheep's clothing.
Yeah, what the fuck, Cenk?
You do the horseshoe theory stuff all the time. And like, there's a lot of videos that are like, Tucker Carlson destroys this person or that person, or MTG does this or that. And it's like, I'm sorry, but the way I look at politics now,
he's doing horseshoe theory.
I look at it a lot like math, right? And it's like, all right, how often is this person actually with me? And then you look at it with somebody like AOC, it's like, what, 95% of the time she votes the way I'd want her to vote. And then you look at somebody like MTG and it's like, 90% of the time she votes the wrong way. Yeah, and so it's like, why would the emphasis be on like, look at these people and how great they are versus your ally who's actually with you most of the time. And then when something you don't agree with happens, you're going to hype that up and make that to be the bigger deal.
Get some
views. Just strikes me as, it's a crisis of bad emphasis, in my opinion. And it leads people down a bad path. It's how we've had like, the Jimmy Dore circa 2018 type issues where it's like, you just like lost your mind.
You think Cenk would support Tucker over AOC if they both run in 2028?
That's a question you'd have to ask
him,
brother. But the fact that I can't snap answer, no, of course not, is worrying, isn't it?
That's a problem.
Yeah. Isn't that worrying? The fact that I can't go, absolutely he wouldn't do that.
Kyle, you're right.
Worrying? Because that's worrying to me.
It's absolutely crazy that we would even have that conversation. And again, not just about Cenk. I'm not trying to single out Cenk. I've seen other people basically make the same point, including Brianna Joy Gray, which is that Tucker is out lefting AOC, and Candace Owens is to the left of AOC, and Marjorie Taylor Greene.
That's our fault.
Shame, and it's like.
That's
all right,
the
we can criticize AOC. Zach and I have done it many times. We've taken shit from some people in our audience for being AOC haters, even because of how willing we are to criticize her and call her out on her shortcomings.
But that's the idea.
But when it's obvious that she is the most progressive option that's a viable candidate in the upcoming election, it does seem weird to direct all your energy towards tearing her down.
She would be open to criticism.
Rather than like offering constructive
criticism. She would be
criticism.
open to discussions.
But either way, I do agree. She should endorse Shoykot. It's a real shame that didn't happen. There must have been some crazy beef behind the scenes that she's not willing to talk about that makes her not want to get behind him, or what you're saying is correct, which is that she's basically taking orders from Mama Bear Pelosi. Either way, it's disappointing. But I do think it's interesting that you mentioned, that it was actually Shoykot that was more interested in getting Cenk out of Justice Democrats, not AOC. I feel like a lot of people have kind of used this against AOC to kind of smear her as being like too woke, right? Like, oh, like she's always going to side with the identity politics, kind of shallow argument. And apparently that was not the case then. It was actually Shoykot who was more on that side. And then also recently, I think we talked about it on the show, and this is something I've repeated, unfortunately, because apparently according to Ryan Grimm, it's misinformation, but I've repeated the talking point that, AOC was the one who was really upset behind the scenes in the Bernie campaign when they accepted and tweeted out Joe Rogan's endorsement. Recently, Ryan Grimm took to Twitter and he basically debunked that notion and said, like, she had some concerns about tweeting out the endorsement, but she wasn't against it. And the way it's been depicted is completely inaccurate.
Right.
I disagree with Ryan on that, and I have a source that told me the exact opposite. I have somebody who told me that it is that she was actually kind of furious that about the whole Rogan fiasco. So it would be more, if Ryan was correct, it would be more consistent with her character that I personally saw at the time when we were at Justice Democrats. But I feel like my source is very solid that she was not happy with how the whole Joe Rogan thing went down. So
Crystal?
Yes, there are times where I feel like she's gonna fire and she's gonna miss. And my biggest concern about her running for president is more, it's more like the ancillary stuff. It's more like the optics stuff. It's more like, can you handle the grind? How do you deal with the criticism? How can you come across looking like a leader when like Fox News is literally having a tantrum about you 24/7 and throwing everything they got at you? And like, can you use that and flip it back on them? So I worry about the optics stuff. I worry about the campaigning stuff. I worry about can you actually get a majority of this country to support you? That stuff I genuinely worry about when it comes to AOC, especially when you look and you see, Hillary lost, Kamala lost. There are a lot of women in this country who look at that and go, I don't ever want to see a fucking woman be the nominee again because I can't stand seeing other fucking women lose, right? We've seen that. And when you look at polls, it's actually young men are much more pro AOC than young women are. And I think that might have something to do with it. Like, you see these women continuing to lose and you're like, oh my God, this is like a horribly sexist country. I don't want to fucking go through that again.
Let's hope so.
But I worry about stuff like that. I don't worry as much on policy. So I think on policy, she has been relatively solid. And I don't think she gets enough credit for that, especially among
for 20 years.
Many left-wing commentators.
Yeah. Before I let Zach jump in, the last thing I'll say on the AOC issue, which is that, I think she needs to run, and I hope she runs, not because I think she's even going to win, but because someone needs to be there to push the conversation to the left and to move the Overton window to the left in the same way that Bernie did in the elections he ran in, right? Because if AOC doesn't run, it is literally going to be like just a bunch of standard issue Democrats and then like bro con.
Then what are you going to say?
AOC, if she runs, will represent the left wing of the Democratic Party on the debate stage. She'll force candidates to the left. She'll provide that pressure that I think is really necessary and would be a massive shame if it doesn't exist, on that debate stage come the primary.
I agree. I would if I could give her advice, I would tell her, you need to go with your instincts and not overthink anything. And like, if you're getting the urge on the debate stage to call Trump a pedophile and a rapist, fucking say it. And like, that's what I need to see out of her.
Dark woke AOC.
Yes, I need to see that, like, I don't give a fuck, I'm just going all in type vibe from her. And I feel like it's been the opposite to this point, where it's very cautious, and that scares me. And also, let me just say on Cenk, since we talked about Cenk, what the UK is doing to him and Hasan is fucking
super fucked up,
unacceptable. Like, and it is. I see some people trying to deny that it's about criticism of Israel. Like, are you mental? Of course, it's fucking about criticism of Israel. Like,
what else would it even be about?
Nothing.
You haven't seen this? Like, there's so many liberals and even Ben Shapiro was out there trying to be like, there's no evidence that this is actually about criticism of Israel. It's like, what are you?
What the fuck are you talking about?
100%.
Of course, Ben's
about
going to say that.
So it sucks to see them have to go through that. But I think there's a little bit of the Streisand effect happening right now, where because of that, more people are tuning into Hasan and Cenk and being like, well, what are they saying? What's the issue here?
Yeah. One last thing in a similar vein, because obviously, Tucker, a lot of people have forgotten about this now. Tucker, obviously, he went to Russia. Remember that? Oh, look at the grocery stores. And
oh, wow. They have grocery carts.
Yeah. And their train stations are so nice. Looks like the trains run on time here. And all
it's not a backward country.
Right? And also, look how Christian
what they tell you about Russia. It's not really true.
Churches.
What's going on here?
Decided to follow suit, and that's
my
next.
That's my next victim.
Who apparently is in Russia, basically doing the same shit. And I find this very interesting because, much like Tucker,
the Christian expression and heritage here is unmatched. Unsurprisingly,
and
they are lying to us about Russia. What's going on here? That's not bad, right? Chat? You there? Fuck. All right.
Into her Christianity, specifically the whole like Christ is king sort of, Catholicism, trad cath, whatever you want to call it. And, here she is. The Christian expression and heritage here is unmatched. Unsurprisingly, they are lying to us about Russia, which just seems like a crazy thing to say. You're going to go and glaze Russia.
Yeah, it's like a Christian fascist country.
By the death and destruction wrought by Israel.
That's why it's illegal to be gay
people
there.
Being killed by Israel. If anything, you should be calling out Russia for going against the teachings of Christ, despite their unmatched Christian expression and heritage.
Kind of shit
it's
I used to
they're
do
not
when I was a
acting in a very
woodworker.
Christian way. They continue to ramp up
Obviously
the assault
not that
on
nice,
innocent
but
Ukrainians, despite the fact that it's not in the news as
equally
much.
as
The war in
ornate.
Ukraine is just as horrific as ever. And again, to completely, go off on Israel and to call them immoral as they obviously are, but then to go glaze Russia and do this propaganda. What do you think is going on there? And do you think it's fair to say that people like Candace and Tucker who engage in this behavior, do you think it's fair to say that they're actually in some way, shape, or form actually getting paid by the Kremlin to do this propaganda?
I was literally just going to say somebody needs to look into the funding of this, without a doubt.
Well, she missed out on the Tenet Media money. Her boy Tim Pool and Dave Rubin got the Russian money from Tenet Media. She was probably like hat in hand. I also live in Nashville.
Yeah, but I mean, I think that's the point, right? Is that there's obviously these like multifaceted complex networks that are set up to like create shell companies and then send direct Russian government money into the pockets of these people. It happened with Benny Johnson was, I believe, one that took it. Dave Rubin, Tim Pool, and they claim like, oh, look, I didn't even know it was from Russia. I just thought it was some shadowy billionaire who gave me the money, which is just as bad, you dumb motherfuckers. Like, that's not a fucking excuse. That's not a dodge. You're just saying you're just as guilty of the corruption, but from a billionaire, you dipshits. But yeah, no, like when I see shit like this now, immediate red flags because
Isn't
they don't
the
have
college
they don't have
there
morals,
too?
They don't have
In
values.
Nashville?
They're not the type of people to be
remember.
like, oh, I would never take $300,000 to glaze you in a tweet. Like, fucking of course they would. So I don't know for sure. I'm not making any specific allegations here, but if there's some investigative reporter out there who wants to dig into it, it certainly looks like where there's smoke, there's fucking fire. Because not in a million years would you see somebody with any sort of integrity do something like this, especially at a time when
Vanderbilt and
Russia's
Belmont and also
unleashing
Tennessee
on Ukraine.
State.
I just covered that on my show the other day. Like, they're really fucking bombing a whole bunch of innocent people and shit. And
Usually,
like you pointed
where
out,
the
the
college
hypocrisy
it's pretty
of
liberal.
pretending to be crusading for the little guy in Palestine while also glazing Russia as they kill innocent Ukrainians. It's just disgusting. And let me also say real quick, that anybody who supports Tucker or would potentially vote for Tucker in a presidential election, you are just not a leftist. There's no definition where you'd be a leftist. Because in order to do that, you would have to overlook the fact that he is like
Kyle Kulinski doesn't seem to like me very much.
The persecution of every different.
He's pontificating about how good the Shure microphone is
for the minority community in this country.
I got to pick
this
some more.
This man is fucking anti-trans. This man was clapping as they're building the fucking ICE concentration camps and shoving people into alligator Alcatraz, and over 4,000 people go fucking missing, and they're tear gassing grandmas and babies and shit. And like, there's no stretch of a definition of the word leftist where you could say, I'll take that. Even a bog standard Democrat, with nothing impressive on the resume whatsoever, would vote the way you want them to significantly more often than motherfucking Tucker Carlson would. So I just
I'll
find
do
that
a different
conversation
crazy laugh,
maddening. Makes me want to pull
work.
my hair out.
I'm so glad we're on the same page about that, because there's just been so much gaslighting about it. And it's like, seriously, Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, like, we do know who these people are.
He's a fucking white nationalist. He's a white nationalist. And then never mind the fact that he's also one of these people who, he's like a Johnny-come-lately where, oh, I'm Mr. Anti-War. But why is it when I go back and I look at during the Iraq War, you're on a radio show calling fucking Iraqis subliterate apes, human monkeys or some shit. It's like
semi-literate primitive apes.
Yeah, it's like, so in the moment you're pro-war, but now after the fact you go, I'm against that. Well, you know who else did that? Fucking Pete Kegley, the Secretary of War Crimes, did that same shit, where he got into politics being a pro-war activist. Then in 2024, when they're running, he goes, I'm a recovering neoconservative. I used to think we could send our military anywhere and get whatever we wanted, and it turns out that was dumb. Cut to a few months later, he's like, cheering on the Iran war harder than anybody behind the scenes. You cannot trust these people. You cannot trust somebody who says behind the scenes, Donald Trump, I hate him with a burning passion and I can't wait to never talk about him again. He's horrible. And then in public, he's like, Daddy's amazing. We love Donald Trump. Isn't he the greatest?
Oopsie.
That guy's a fucking liar. You have no idea what he believes on anything at all, on anything.
And again, Trump also followed that playbook. Because again, as I mentioned, he pretended to be against the neocon establishment. He pretended to be against George Bush in the Iraq War, and the only one on the debate stage that would call it out. And it's like, obviously, he's not fucking anti-war. Tucker's doing the same shit now, just to Trump instead of Bush.
Yep. And I'm sorry, you're so right. We literally did just go through this same shit with Trump, man. That like, you know, oh, I'm Mr. Populist, I'm Mr. Anti-War. Then he immediately betrays all that shit. And now we're gonna fall for the same tap dance from another right winger.
Are you kidding me?
That's like nuclear levels of fell for it again award. That is like Guinness Book of World Records fell for it again shit.
Like, why would you do that? Okay. Now, remember when Melania, our illustrious vice president? No, sorry. The fucking wife of the president. Remember when she came out and was like, I've never known Epstein ever in my life? Well, we'll see about that.
I know that she worked and earned money for a long time while undocumented.
She was a escort of Jeffrey Epstein. That's how she met Donald Trump.
Covering what the corporate media covers up.
Hey, it's JT Siskowski with Status Coup. Well, some of the speculation and rumors swirling around First Lady Melania Trump and her relationship and any ties that she might have had to Jeffrey Epstein are really coming to a head right now because a Brazilian former model has come out and made some pretty salacious accusations against the First Lady. And she did it on video. This is Amanda Ungaro. I'm going to play the clip for you. She was, again, Brazilian model, worked with Paolo Zampoli, who is an Italian agent who also worked with Melania, and Paolo and Melania remained close. Listen to what Ungaro is saying in a voice message recorded and apparently sent to Paolo Zampoli. She just posted this on her X account within the last day.
Let's tell the public you never was the one introducing Melania to Trump. It was Jeffrey Epstein. She was a escort of Jeffrey Epstein. That's how she met Donald Trump. Okay?
Makes sense.
You are like a fucking piece of shit that supposedly like asking a favor to be in the power with the titles, and then Melania cover you and you cover Melania. Let's be honestly, nobody's a fucking stupid here. And I know because I was with you 20 years and you always told me it was not you, was Jeffrey Epstein.
So there you have it. She is coming right out there and saying that Melania Trump was introduced to Donald Trump via Jeffrey Epstein, and that Melania Trump was allegedly an escort for Jeffrey Epstein. Now, those are two, oh boy, salacious allegations right there. So we got to be very careful that we report on these allegations as allegations, because Melania Trump has not been afraid to get very litigious when it comes to her connections to Jeffrey Epstein. She has sued both the Daily Mail and a Maryland blogger for making accusations about her connections to Jeffrey Epstein. And Michael Wolff, the journalist and also PR flack for Jeffrey Epstein, preemptively sued Melania, though that case was tossed by the courts over similar allegations around these connections between her and Epstein.
Okay.
And so far, those outlets have had to, or those people, aside from Michael Wolff, have had to pony up and pay Melania for those accusations. So she is not afraid to go after people. But a little bit of backstory here. Amanda Ungaro, a while back, threatened to release information related to Melania and Jeffrey Epstein. Shortly after that, Melania came out and made, you remember that head-scratching statement she made in the White House in front of TV cameras saying that she had no connection whatsoever to Jeffrey Epstein. And everybody's asking, why in the hell was she doing this? Because the Epstein story at the time had died down. There wasn't a lot of talk about Melania's connection to Jeffrey Epstein. And then she comes out and does that. Left a lot of people scratching their heads saying, what the hell? Well, then Amanda Ungaro's accusations or threats of accusations start getting more attention, and it becomes more apparent. This is why it's happening now. Why is Amanda Ungaro suddenly coming out and talking this way? Well, man,
it's enough of that, and let's hope so. Let's hope so.
Sam Seder, Emma Vigeland, fun half, Majority Report, but we're getting serious now in this fun half. Want to welcome to the program Mason from the One Hand Politics Twitch channel. And Mason, you were one of the 20 people who surrounded Dave Rubin. And really, I mean, fortunately, like, this was all planned, because otherwise I think you'd be looking at charges for what you guys did to him. How did you, you've been on a couple, done these Surrounded before, yes?
I have, yeah, and thanks for having me on the show. Really appreciate it. I've watched it for a long time. I do prefer the term debate wizard that you guys dubbed me about 2 years ago.
Oh, that's right. Yes, from the Shapiro, the Ben Shapiro.
The rest of the recording.
We will, and that was sort of like, I mean, in some ways, it's sort of unfair that they let you sit across from Dave Rubin because Dave seemed grossly unprepared. And to be fair, not just with you, but with everyone. And so, all right, now let's start with the controversial part. I have done the one of these Surroundeds. And
I can't. The Jubilee Cinematic Universe, Sam.
Yeah, exactly. And I can't remember exactly what was in the agreement. I'm pretty sure I signed one, but I'm quite sure that they, at the very least, let me see it and suggest edits before it went out. And I frankly couldn't remember what was cut or not cut at that time. So I said fact checks. But my understanding is that Dave Rubin may have asked for certain edits. And let's play the beginning of your segment, and you tell us what might be missing from that.
Okay.
For your seats.
It's been fun.
Oh, she had it. She had it. All right.
Dave.
All right. Hi.
Good to meet you. I'm actually a big fan. I've been watching you since all the way back in the Sam Harris era.
Oh, yeah?
And then I remember you
softening me up. Okay.
No, you brought on Stephen Molyneux, like the white nationalist. And I was like, this guy just loves ideas. He just loves all different types of ideas. I love that.
Now pause it for a second. Now pause it for a second. Keep it on Dave's face there for 1 second. Do you think, because certainly the other people sitting there knew that you were mocking him, do you think when he gave you this look that he understood that, or was he just like going to some happy place in his head?
Or there's a third option. Was this cut to him after something else had been said that was not included in the recording?
Yeah, I did mention a certain somebody, and I said, you love all types of ideas except for this guy, Sam Seder. And for some reason, he didn't respond to that. He just kind of let it glaze over and stared into my eyes.
Okay, so you said except Sam Seder?
I don't know why.
Wow, that's interesting. I guess
Sam Harris they left in.
Yeah, I wonder why they left
a lot in. At one point in the debate, I say you suck Trump's dick, and they let that in the final cut. But a mention of Sam Seder, that's too controversial, too personal.
Wow. All right. And did my name come up at any other time?
There were a couple other people. I know Evan for sure brought it up. He had spoken to Dave back in 2019. He did his book tour that was like, what was it? Don't burn this book. Controversial ideas that no one can talk about. I forget what the book tour was. But Evan asked him, why won't you debate Sam Seder? And then in their rematch for this Jubilee debate, he was like, I met you once in 2019. I talked to you about why you won't debate Sam Seder, but I can debate you right here. Let's just go ahead and move on with this. That was also conveniently cut.
Interesting.
Wow.
Well, Dave, if he doesn't want that name associated with him, I can understand it. But if I was Dave, I would have cut out all of the segments and everything.
Wait,
because
but was anything else cut, Mason, to your knowledge?
Yeah, there were a couple other things that were cut. I mentioned with him, there was I specifically brought up why he has like abandoned some of his friendships with Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson, who he's been buddy with for decades. And now that they are slightly critical of Trump, mostly because of a genocide that's happening in Israel, he's completely cut them off as friends. But he won't cut off someone like Michael Knowles, who openly says your family's degenerate and you shouldn't have your children. So it is interesting how he picks and chooses his friendships.
Yeah.
Let's get to that segment where you brought this up. This was in his wokeism has done more damage to America than Trump ever did.
Wokeism in the big 2026. We love to hear it.
And the funny thing is like he never really defined what wokeism is.
Isn't it wokeness also? Wokeism? All right, go on.
I mean,
it's anything bad, Sam. Anything bad is woke. You should know that by now.
And you
can conjugate woke however you want.
You brought up this, and this was fascinating because this is also there was a conversation between Jillian Michaels and Dave Rubin that sort of mirrors this one, where they talk about like their conservative friends are so much more polite than folks like you, Mason, who was rude. You were rude by asking him all these questions, even though it was supposed to be a planned debate. But they're very polite in person, except for the part where they want to strip all of my human rights away. And you brought that up. Let's play this part. You got it?
But that's what's crazy is that evolution has changed so much to the current MAGA movement. The MAGA movement today, Donald Trump would absolutely not say that somebody could use the bathroom aligned with their gender identity. He specifically banned that. And not just that, but he's also just called for, he specifically wrote an executive order that classifies far leftist groups like pro-transgender groups as a danger to the country, which often the entire military can go after. That is insane. That is absolutely a violation of people's individual rights.
All right, so you want to talk about the trans issue sort of broadly, I sense,
I want to talk about the MAGA coalition
what I can tell you,
what I can tell you, individual liberty, yet wants to police the way that people express
themselves. But what are they doing?
That also wants to police people's bodies, that want to go after people specifically because of their ethnicity. None of that should be
so Donald Trump is in the middle of his second term. Gay marriage is here, it's passed, it's a just cause. I believe in individual rights.
Wait, you're friends with Michael Knowles, right?
Yeah.
So what's that coalition again called? I think it's like Less Equal, that's trying to actually get rid of Obergefell and overton gay marriage. Does that not concern you?
Well, first off, I've never heard of that specific organization, but what I can tell you,
you're friends with them.
Michael is part of. I just don't know what you're talking about. But what I would
look it up right now.
What I would say is
Michael Knowles. I think it's what's that guy's name? The Daily Wire, the head one.
But I just want to say, I want to acknowledge this pro move.
Me on that.
Where you are so sick of talking to this guy who is not registering anything that you have to turn to the camera. Like, this is like the
it's an office moment. I had a Jim Halper moment.
Breaking the fourth wall.
I mean, I was gonna say Woody Allen, Manhattan, where I've got McLuhan right here.
Annie Hall,
Annie Hall. But be that as it may, I guess he's not sort of in favor anymore. You tell people to look up Michael Knowles' group. Dave Rubin had no idea. I mean, I remember when Ben Shapiro said to him, like, I would not come to your wedding. But
to his face. And
to his face.
He was like, well, that's okay. We can still be friends.
It's an odd friendship. I wonder what it takes to not be friends. Oh, point out that you're an idiot. Go ahead.
Okay, but that's not Donald Trump.
I understand that you want to go away from this.
No. That's not Donald Trump. That's not the head of the party. I have friends well, first off, Michael and I are friends, but there is a cap on our friendship. There actually is.
How are you friends with someone who doesn't want you to be in love, my man?
He doesn't want me to be in love. He's had dinner at my house with his wife. My husband cooked for him.
That's against God, so I want to have a word with him.
No, but think about what you're saying. Think about what I'm saying.
What I want to say
your name. Wait. Hold on, champ.
Wait a second.
Now,
this leads me to believe that he has watched our show before. He is referring to, I think we called you Debate Wizard, but Debate Champ could also be the...
Hey. You know, I go by many names. I'm a man of many faces.
He seems to be getting a little bit agitated here, but I also have to say, like, it's fascinating to me that now all of a sudden wokeism is only defined, or anti-wokeism or whatever it is only defined by what the head of the party does. Where he says, like, it doesn't matter what Michael Knowles does. It doesn't matter what they do at Daily Wire. It doesn't matter what they do at anywhere. All that matters is the president of the United States. And yet, like, was Joe Biden woke?
They would say yes.
I guess.
But no. But think about what you're saying.
Dave,
think about what I'm saying.
What I want to
say
your
name. Wait. Hold on, champ. You know, in your world of how tolerant you are showing me you're actually showing a remarkable amount of intolerance, because although I don't know the group that you're talking about, Michael Knowles as a human being has been to my house, and my husband has cooked him lamb, and we have enjoyed evenings together and shared personal moments and all of those things. Now, do we agree on absolutely everything? Of course, the answer to that is no. And if Michael or anyone else was trying to lead some organization that was going to go against my civil rights, well, that is where obviously we would have our difference of opinion, really, of course.
David,
but I also respect people's religious beliefs. They're allowed to have their religious beliefs.
I'm just like, will you walk me through, like, what he was saying here? Like, if he is leading a group, and he is, as you pointed out to him, that would literally strip my children from me.
Yeah.
And also nullify my marriage to my husband, that's where we would, and he did this, and then he said, have a disagreement.
Right.
Well, I know.
Yes.
Can you explain to me what...
my livelihood, my family. Yeah, the group is called Greater Than. I flubbed it on the show, but you can look it up right now if you're watching. And Greater Than explicitly says marriage is an institution between a man and a woman, and all of these delusional adult fantasies shouldn't trump the needs of children, which apparently is heterosexual couples. Even though we have millions of children in our foster care, they shouldn't have same-sex parents, because that's against my scripture. I can't have that.
Right.
That is the belief of Michael Knowles and these bigots. And for Dave Rubin, he says the MAGA coalition is so diverse in ideology that these can live together. Both the people who believe, you know, people should have individual rights, and the people who say I should determine what families look like and keep more kids in our foster system.
Well, we're not talking also about religion. This is the sleight of hand that he's doing here. This is a political group trying to make a political, change politically and get the Supreme Court to overturn their gay marriage decision. It's very different. If he was being actually honest about it, maybe, he's like, I can stomach it. My, like, solidarity with the conservative movement and with money trumps all of this. And he doesn't like that I'm married to a man, but whatever. No, it's not about his individual belief. It's about his political actions.
It also shows the bullshit in Michael Knowles. Like, how is he a hypocrite when he believes that viewing a video of a child with two male parents is the most disgusting thing he's ever seen on Twitter, yet he can have dinner with a gay couple who has children? How does that align together?
I would say his marriage is hypocrisy.
Yeah, I mean, Michael Knowles, it actually is curious. They're having dinner. I wonder if they socialize at other events with other men.
I mean, the fascinating thing to me is sort of like, what would it take? Like, I could hear him saying, you know, I'm fighting against this, but he doesn't. He just says, like, we have just a disagreement. Where's your organization? Where is Dave Rubin's organization to get the right wing and the MAGA to accept the fact that gay people can get married and that gay people can have kids? He doesn't seem to be engaging in that. He's just going to let Michael have the entire playing field, as it were.
I mean, quite the opposite. He says the LGBTQ community is a threat right now to this country.
Oh.
Religious beliefs. They're not allowed to legislate my life. This is all very separate from the trans thing, which obviously I sense is going to come up a few more times.
I'll just say real quick, like, I'm not trying to come after you. I believe that you should have the full liberty to have the family of your choice. But what I will say is I'm glad Michael treats you with respect individually when you guys are together. But when he goes in front of his platform and says that a video of 2 gay men having a child is the most disgusting thing that he's ever seen, which is a quote, you can look up the tweet. Michael said that that child is in one of the most dangerous situations he can think of, which is crazy to think of all the abusive parents that actually live in this society, regardless of sexual orientation. And you're going to look at a happy family and say, this is disgusting. That should feel like a violation.
Okay, so I didn't see that video, but if what you're asking me is if do I agree with...
Pause it for 1 second. Leave it up there. Leave it up there. Oh, okay. The fact check says that video happened...
Guess we're not playing Marathon tonight.
A month ago.
I had no idea.
I mean, a month ago.
Yeah.
So maybe it was after they had dinner.
Probably still had lamb in his teeth when he made that video.
Maybe the lamb wasn't very good. Maybe the lamb wasn't good. A little
it's hard to cook lamb.
Go ahead.
I've never seen a Jubilee like center speaker have this many fact checks against them. It's actually remarkable.
Remarkable. It's the thing is the facts were so. I've seen fact checks that are a little bit sniggly. You know what I mean? Like a little bit like almost like pedantic and too technical. These fact checks are just sort of like, they're like big, like it's like, we're talking like grapefruit size, like watermelon size fact checks. Like they're just huge. Like, no, like we're not being, picky. It's just like, you said it was day and it happens to be night. And there are so many of them. It's unbelievable.
The video they referred to, if we just read this out, this is the most horrifying video Michael Knowles has ever seen.
It's not just the quote in the video, it's the title of the video.
It's so, he's so closeted, it's insane.
It's so bad. No, Sam, you've been on the other end of this, but for the people that are in the circle, you don't know who you're speaking to until the day of. Like, you can have speculation and they'll give you some of the topics, but you never get confirmation until you see their face walk in the room. So it was.
So how'd you feel when you saw that it was Dave?
As a group, were you all excited. Just so excited?
Wow. I was excited that I get to do bits, but I was mad because I'm like, this is not going to be like an exchange of ideas as much as Dave says that he loves. This man doesn't really have any ideas. But I was more flabbergasted that he had a month to prep, or however long Jubilee let him know he was going to do with Surrounded, and he came with no prep. He just walked in thinking he's going to talk to a bunch of woke liberals and talk about pronouns for 6 hours. And he got schooled on every single issue. It was so embarrassing.
We're going to go through more of this. I mean, because that's what struck me too. I was like,
that's right.
Did he not know that he was doing this until like 15 minutes before? It was fascinating. Like, on Iran, I mean, at one point, I don't know if it was in your exchange, because I sort of danced around with it a little bit. Somebody says wokeism is how you are able to get married.
Yeah.
And he said, no, that's not wokeism, that's legislation.
It's principled conservatism, actually, that gave us gay marriage.
The idea that there was no decades worth of activism around getting marriage equality, that Massachusetts went out in front being super woke about this. It's just fascinating. But let's watch the end of your exchange here.
Asking me is do I agree with, let's just say what you said is true. Do I agree with Michael's point on that? Of course the answer is no.
But that is the MAGA coalition.
No.
That's what I'm saying. That is the ideology.
No, that's not the coalition. No, that's not the coalition. No, that's not the coalition.
That is what the administration is pushing
you're taking
towards.
a very specific person and you're saying...
Is it a small specific?
Oh,
is it
absolutely, yes.
No, it is not.
Yes, oh, it is.
The majority.
No, that's completely absurd. That's completely absurd. It's completely absurd.
And remember, this is Michael saying wokeism did more damage to America than Trump ever did. That's his argument.
We got to pause there. You've been voted out by the majority.
Good meet you.
Great stuff, Mason.
Hey, were his hands sweaty?
Oh, he was sweating by like 2 minutes in. It was not good. I think he started to realize what was happening, and he was like, watching his career points go. I mean, it's already in the gutter. It's crazy. He has 3 million subscribers on YouTube, and he's averaging like 5,000 views a video. Like, nobody's buying this neoconservatism anymore, even in his own party. So I think Dave went on this for a little boost, and it was so much worse than any other scenario.
But it really underscores what I've heard about him from so many people, back to his TYT days as well. He's extremely, extremely lazy and averse to working. He doesn't want to do any work. He wants producers to do it all for him. This was back when he was still, pretending to be a liberal or something, or on the left.
I never liked him on TYT.
He didn't prepare for this, even though obviously you should if you're looking for some sort of career boost.
Let's put up, I just sent this link in. He said at the end, your contention was that the MAGA movement is against marriage equality. He's like, no, they're not even part of the coalition. He said, and this is granted, this poll is a year ago. What delusional world is he living in? Maybe there has been some type of resurgence, but
it's next fucking Tuesday is where he's living, mate. That's right.
But scroll down. You will see that Republican support for marriage equality is at 41%.
Jesus.
And in fact, it dropped dramatically at some point. Let's see. Right around when Donald Trump says, I'm running again in 2024, you can see it just goes straight down.
Yep.
And I imagine,
that's the rise of the manosphere too, and all of the, and you see those lines,
the attacks on trans
people, and just overall rights. I mean, this is the same kind of trajectory for the equal rights for women that you see.
Oh shit! No pun intended.
Around that time.
Republican leadership is saying, how could these young men gravitate towards figures like Nick Fuentes or all of these other far right everything that the right has tried to cover about their ideology, getting rid of the rights of women, getting rid of the rights of minority groups in this country. They've tried to hide under this veneer of, we're not going to go after that. That's extreme. And now you have figures that are openly advocating for that. And it's because a lot of these neoconservatives or establishment Republicans have set the stage for these people to be radicalized by those figures. And for Dave Rubin to pretend like that's not happening in his own party, it's ignoring all of the data that's in front of us.
Yeah, it's almost like trans rights are interconnected with gay rights. It's almost like when the attacks on trans people happened, support for gay marriage went down. And people like Jillian Michaels and Dave Rubin, who are gay themselves and try to throw trans people under the bus and have...
Yeah, Chatter, are you from the UK? Because, I got a question for y'all.
Have no solidarity with them and think they're an abomination. Are hurting all of the members of their community as well, but they're too rich to care.
Validating.
What else was a highlight for you during this Surrounded with Dave Rubin? I mean,
oh yeah.
And explain sort of the let's, before you even get to that too, just for a moment, because I went through this process. You're in the green room if you're in the middle. And you walk, it's not a fancy place, incidentally. I don't know if they still do it at that same warehouse, but it's not a fancy place. And you walk in, how excited were all of the people in the circle? Everybody's like, oh, I thought maybe this is going to be, did you have, who did you speculate it could be?
Well, I've never been intimidated by the intelligence of a conservative. All of the people that are lauded as these big intellectual titans, Ben Shapiro and Charlie Kirk, I've done on this exact same show format. So I was thinking it was someone like Steven Crowder, or it was going to be maybe a Dave Rubin, maybe an Erica Kirk. I honestly didn't know who it was going to be. All we were told was it's one MAGA defender versus 20 far left Democrats, which honestly seemed oxymoronic in itself. I don't understand what they meant by far left, because it was all culture war issues. But they were kind of buying into that right-wing framing of wokeism and all that culture bullshit. But for me, after all of the surroundeds that I've been on, this was easily the most vitriolic that the circle was towards a figure in the center. And I think it's because we all knew how ridiculous he was. Like nobody felt intimidated. Yeah. Everyone was laughing at everything that he said. He was speaking in vague conservative talking points that if you ask the average conservative high schooler about political issues, they'd give the same answer.
Yes.
Government bad, the market's good, we need more competition. Every time he was asked for a specific metric, he just completely fell on his face. So it was enjoyable. It was fun. You could tell he was exhausted by the end of it. But two things that they cut out. One for me, I tell him at the end when I call out him taking Russian money, I'm like, Russia is paying you because you cheerlead Donald Trump's policies. You suck his dick. He was like, wow, I can't believe you were homophobic. This shows that the left doesn't actually care about gay people. You're attacking me for my sexual orientation. And I kind of wish they kept that in there. That would have been hilarious. And then another part was Parker called him out on all of the economic metrics. I think you guys talked about that yesterday on the show. Yeah. He went to the green room. That was before the halftime or whatever. He comes back from the green room. He looks at Parker and he says, by the way, I looked it up on Grok, and there's actually a lot of economic metrics that Donald Trump's better than Joe Biden on. And they did not keep that in there. But I'm like, dude, what a perfect example of how this guy gets his information. Yeah, right. He literally is typing prompts into Grok and saying, there we go, objective truth, baby. That's what I need.
Well, there is ideological diversity on the right then, because Jillian Michaels uses ChatGPT. So you can have or
Gemini, maybe.
Oh, Gemini.
She's using the Google.
Or Claude. Who knows? But that's where you get the differences of opinion. Which AI are they going to use in order to bolster their political ideology and their points?
Yeah. AI with the prompts. How can I spin this in?
Just grok it, Emma. I'm a numbers guy. Just grok it. Find the answer.
How can I give a good conservative argument to the audience right now? It's hilarious.
In the voice of Dave Rubin, how would you answer this question?
I would say I haven't seen that video. I haven't heard of that organization.
I don't know. My husband made him lamb. What was it? What was your favorite exchange? Was there another exchange that was your favorite?
Yeah, I mean, Parker did a great job. You guys highlighted that. Evan did a fantastic job. He was the first person that was in this video, and he just grilled him on Iran. He asked him to his face, like, how do you reconcile Tulsi Gabbard, director of national intelligence, telling Congress that Iran was not pursuing a nuclear weapon?
We played that too, yeah.
We played that one, right?
Yeah.
We did that. That was...
They're just lying. Tulsi Gabbard's trying to undermine Trump. And it's just like, dude, it was really sad. That was a great exchange. I really like that one. And then I'm blanking on her name. I think it's Maybe, but she's running for state senate here in California. She got the 10 minutes at the end, and she did a great job just humanizing the trans experience and telling him to his face, you're claiming that you care about individual liberty, but you're supporting this movement that's openly attacking the most marginalized communities in our country right now.
Nice.
And he really just had nothing to say. So I thought that both of those were great exchanges.
So if people don't know, at the end, the guy in the middle or the gal in the middle gets to pick who they want to have raise. The claim gets reversed, and the other person can do it, and they pick somebody. And on mine, I can't remember who it was I picked, but I picked somebody who was like arguing through sort of like fact. I mean, I could have picked the person who said, what's wrong with being like a white nationalist? Yeah. But I picked somebody who was like, arguing policy. And I can't remember what topic, but they get to ask the topic. And so Dave picked this woman, this trans woman, because he wanted to, I guess, engage in that, in more culture war stuff. We should play that clip because she does a great job. Dave is like, I do remember one exchange where Dave says like, laws don't protect you or something. And it's just like,
she's talking about civil rights protections and how people are still discriminated by landlords and employers because Trump has gutted civil rights protections for trans people in employment and housing. And he's like, the law's not supposed to fix any of that. The law is just supposed to make sure that we don't hurt each other. And what is
that is
He's a fucking
Does Dave not realize that he is protected from being fired because he's gay by federal statute?
Yeah.
Well, the government shouldn't step in those things, Sam. We can have a diversity of opinions between employers and employees.
Yeah.
Freedom of contract.
Amazing. Well, Mason did a great job, and we're going to link to One Hand Politics. Really, all of you guys did a great job, and sometimes I got to say, like, it's been a decade or two since I played tennis, but one of the things I remember about tennis is if you're playing against somebody who's absolutely horrible, it's very difficult to get into a rhythm because you can't. Yep. And I have to say, arguing with Dave Rubin like that, I think is much harder than people realize because he's like absorbing all of the words and then just coming out with something that's completely like such a non sequitur in many respects that it's very difficult to sort of like maintain an argument because he doesn't even know enough to rebut. Like,
you're playing chess with a pigeon. Yeah,
it's right. That's really what it is. Right. But good job. That was a lot of fun. And I really appreciate you coming on talking about it.
Thanks for having me on. Really appreciate it. And Sam, I just really need you to consider, I don't understand how you sleep at night continuing to go after this man who's clearly intellectually challenged. I mean, this is a man who has a humble net worth of $5 million, mostly from Russian oligarchs and oil money. And he talks about politics every day, clearly knows nothing about politics. And you continue to attack him. I think you need to reassess your
I got to say up front, I conceded I did feel bad about it. But, everybody needs to cut themselves a little bit of slack. And
in Sam's defense, he also hires the intellectually challenged, too.
That's right. There we go.
He evened it out with Brian.
There you go. Thanks so much, man. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate y'all.
Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone.
He was, of course, dragging himself under the bus. Guess we're not playing. Never going to play a game.
Norman in 2018 posted, Israelis are Nazis, Nazis are Israelis.
Yes, I do not believe I used the phrase Israel are Nazis, Nazis are Israelis. My memory doesn't resonate to that, and it doesn't sound like me.
We did check while you were talking there. You did say it. 25th of May 2018 on your official X account. Mask has been pulled off. Israelis are Nazis, Nazis are Israelis.
I would have to go look at it.
Well, the ferocious backlash to the war in Iran has created many unlikely bedfellows. Close your eyes, ignore the accent, and Tucker Carlson sounds a lot like Mehdi Hassan on the Iran war. Cenk Uygur could be Megyn Kelly. They all share a sense of betrayal that the US president campaigned against war but took the US into war anyway. They all believe that Netanyahu's Israel played a decisive role in the decision to attack Iran, and they're angry about being condemned for saying it. But the people at either end of the so-called political horseshoe are not all happy about uniting over common causes. Last week, Professor Norman Finkelstein, who's been accused of anti-Semitism for many years, despite being a Jewish descendant of Holocaust survivors, said this.
It's very easy to imagine a Tucker Carlson running for president in 2028 on the platform of the real America first, because now he's saying Trump abandoned that slogan. He's betrayed his campaign promises. A campaign platform of the real America first and the wire pullers who are controlling our country. It's very easy to imagine the real America first with those treasonous American Jews working hand in glove with the wire pullers in Israel. That could take off. That could take off.
Well, one of those who was criticised by Professor Finkelstein was the former director of the National Counterterrorism Centre, Joe Kent. And both of them join me now. Well, welcome to both of you. Joe Kent, what was your response when you heard what Norman Finkelstein was saying there?
Actually, that's the first time I've heard it. So, first and foremost, it's very rational and appropriate for us to have legitimate concerns with the amount of influence that the Israeli government has had over our foreign policy, especially with regards to this Iran war. And I think that's exactly where the topic of discussion should be, because it's so important. It's the most important thing. I think any diversion into, well, someone just being anti-Semitic, or the flip side, which I think the professor was pointing out, anti-Semitic tropes or something like that coming into play about wire pulling and all that. All of that is inappropriate. I condemn the anti-Semitism, and I also condemn people people using ad hominem attacks when the focal point of the argument right now is the influence that Israel has over our government and our foreign policy in the Middle East and this war with Iran. So I think that's where the subject matter should stay, because ending this war is probably the most important endeavor that we can undertake right now.
But Norman Finkelstein specifically cited not just Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens and Megyn Kelly, but also you, Joe Kent, when he said Palestine was never a cause of the right, oppressed peoples a right-wing cause, third world people a right-wing cause, human suffering a right-wing cause,
has
not
to
really.
Be a 10.0.
And he put your name in the mix there. How do you feel about that?
I don't really have any feelings about that. I mean, my criticism of Israel is their influence over our policies in the Middle East. I was the director of the National Counterterrorism Center prior to that in the military and the CIA. And so that's where my level of expertise is in terms of, right-wing causes. Defining the right wing right now in America is actually rather challenging. But I do think we should look at our relationship with the government of Israel.
Norman, welcome back to Uncensored. It's been a massive pushback, as you know, to what you said, including people supporting it, obviously. Glenn Greenwald posted this. I'll never understand why. If someone genuinely cares about the issues they claim to care so much about, as I believe Norman does, they prefer to remain an impotent minority rather than forming majoritarian issue-by-issue coalitions with other factions in order to actually stop these injustices, which is an interesting point. He's basically arguing that whether you agree with Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, Joe Kent, about a number of other issues, it's kind of irrelevant. If you come together, there's more power in potentially stopping more of this particular issue from happening. I mean, do you accept that criticism?
Well, there are two separate questions here. The question that Joe Kent raised, namely Israeli influence over U.S. Foreign policy, and then there's the question, the political question, the tactical question of forming alliances with people with whom you ideologically fundamentally disagree. And those are very different questions. So I think out of respect to your guest, Joe Kent, I should first address his question, which is an important question. Now, I've listened to Joe Kent on several occasions, and his position is that the United States was dragged into this war in Iran in just the same way as it was dragged by the Israelis, dragged into the war in 2003, the Iraq War. And he sees a direct line between the two cases. So let's just begin with the first one, because the first case is very illuminating for the second case, the 2003 Iraq War. So there was a lot said back then, including by my close friend, John Mearsheimer.
Where's my goddamn
gang, bitch? The Iraq War in 2003 was instigated by the Israelis. The Americans were duped. They were tricked into launching the war. Is there any evidence for that? I would say the evidence is flat out zero. What happened in 2003? First of all, as everybody knows, the United States has opposed the Iranian regime since 1979. That's why it supports Saddam Hussein when Iraq attacked Iran between 1980 and 1988. They even covered up for Saddam Hussein when he used poison gas against the Iranians. Now, after 9/11, the Vice President, Dick Cheney, the Secretary of Defense, Donald Rumsfeld, who were the real architects of the 2003 war, I'm sure Joe Kent will agree with me on that, they were the architects of the war, they saw an opportunity. Everybody knows the cliche, a crisis is also an opportunity. And they saw an opportunity to redesign, reinvent the Middle East, to rid it of the Iraqi regime, to rid it of the Syrian regime, and then the big Megillah, to go after Iran. The only point of difference between the U.S. and Israel was the order. Originally, originally Israel wanted to go after Iran first. The U.S. wanted to go after Iran last. But there was no difference of opinion on attacking Iran. It was just a question of first or last.
And then Iraq got bogged down in the mountains.
That Dick Cheney, Donald Rumsfeld, they were tricked by Israel into launching the war. So here's some basic facts. Dick Cheney and Donald Rumsfeld each had 30 years of experience in government and power in 2003. They began politics during the Gerald Ford administration in 1975.
They fired him?
Each of them was very smart. You don't trick Dick Cheney. You don't trick Donald Rumsfeld. Each of them was very conscientious. Each of them was 101% committed to American national interests. They didn't give a hoot. They didn't give a flying fig about Israeli interests. They made a calculation. Now, it happens, the calculation was wrong. We all remember Kenneth Adelson said it was going to be a cakewalk. Kenan Makia said the U.S. troops would be greeted with chocolate and flowers. They were wrong. But to say they were wrong is not to say that Dick Cheney and Donald Rumsfeld were either tricked or they were serving Israeli national interests against our own. That's just flat out ridiculous. So now let's fast forward to this war. Donald Trump, like Dick Cheney and Donald Rumsfeld, wanted to get rid of the Iranian regime. he was persuaded by the Israelis that it would be a cakewalk. He thought that, if you recall his first speech, he said, I call on the Iranian people to rise up against their government. And he thought they would. Well, guess what? He was wrong. The Israelis were wrong. But the fact that you make a tactical error does not mean you are serving a foreign power against American interests. Joe Kent, your other guest, he wants to get rid of the Iranian regime, but he thinks the right strategy, as he put it, is brutal, I would add, criminal sanctions against the Iranian people. That's collective punishment,
Correct.
illegal under international law.
I disagree with
He believes
that.
that if you impose brutal sanctions on the people of Iran, that they will rise up to overthrow the government. So they all agree on the goal, which they believe is in the U.S. national interest. I don't. I don't want to overthrow the government of Iran, but they believe that. And the only issue is tactical. One, Mr. Kent believes it was a bad choice of tactics. Mr. Trump and Mr. Netanyahu thought it was the right tactic, but they were wrong. But to come up with all of this wire pulling by Israel to trick the Americans, or we're told that they have secret information from the Epstein files that's keeping Trump up at night, that he's tormented and tortured because he didn't want to do this. This is all fantasy and invention.
But on the point that Glenn Greenwald made, though, notwithstanding all that, is there not a power in having more voices coming together, even if they're from traditionally polar opposites? Because what's fascinating, I mean, Joe made a very interesting point that, what is the right wing now in America? It's completely split down the middle, and it's been split over things like the Epstein files and how much should be released, split over the war in Iran, split over a number of things. So it's very hard to define what the conservative right in America now is.
Files?
But in relation to Glenn's point, his criticism of you is specific that you seem to be wanting to, not have anything to do with any of those people because of their political positions, whereas on this you're all agreed. So why not unite?
Right. Okay, Piers, it's your program. You're the moderator. That's clear. However, I want to be respectful to Joe Kent, and I would like clarity on this issue. It's pervasive now across the whole political spectrum that this is, quote unquote, Israel's war. And I would like to hear his response to what I have to say.
To be clear, I was going to go to Joe for his response to what you said about that. I think it's a perfectly valid point, and you spelled out the history with your usual detailed knowledge, and that was very interesting to hear. But just give me a response to what Glenn Greenwald said, because I think that he raises an interesting point, which is, as you see the right in America fragmenting over things like Iran, why would you not welcome having people like Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, Joe Kent, Candace Owens,
because they're fucking not good for us
about something like the Iran war?
They're racist pig dogs.
Okay, number one, I believe that about 60 or 70% of what those folks are saying about Israel and Gaza is true. I have no problem with that. When Candace Owens says there are children being murdered in Gaza, that's true. When Tucker Carlson says there's a genocide in Gaza, that's true.
It's true.
I have no problem with that. And I'm glad they're saying it. I know when I listen to it, I'm glad to hear it. Number two, I don't believe facts can be anti-Semitic. If something is true, it's true. A fact in and of itself, if it's true, can't be deemed anti-Semitic. It may be unwelcome, but it's true. Number three, I completely get the fact that a lot of people are cheering on Tucker Carlson, cheering on Candace Owens, and to a lesser but still significant extent, cheering on people like Nick Fuentes, because they seem to be breaking taboos, and taboos which many people have grown very offended by. They feel stifled by the fact that they can't express the true opinion that Israel is committing a genocide. They feel threatened. Their fear of being labeled anti-Semitic, and even up to and including losing their job, or in the case of some students, even being deported. So I get that they are cheering these people on. I will have to say, I don't think it takes much courage now. Public opinion has radically shifted. It's much more difficult now in the court of public opinion to support Israel than to criticize Israel. So we have to be honest about that. This is not what John F. Kennedy would call a profile in courage. What does concern me, however,
I just want to bring Joe in, because obviously we've had a long time just now with you talking. Let me bring Joe in, just to the point that Norman was making, that there is a growing narrative that all the strings are being pulled by Israel. I think when you read that New York Times piece, which appeared several weeks ago, about all the background to why America joined in the strikes, it seemed pretty clear that there was a lot of, pathways laid out by Netanyahu and Mossad that if you do this, all this will happen. And Trump seemed to think that that would be the case. Others in his administration didn't agree. Now, Donald Trump is his own man. I think that's pretty obvious. But has he been persuaded by Netanyahu Netanyahu that this could work out the way they were saying. I suspect that was the case, and maybe he regrets it now. But this charge that he makes, Norman, that it's easy to do that, to blame Israel for Iraq, to blame Israel now for Iran, but ultimately the President of the United States and his team, they are the most powerful military in the history of the planet. If they don't want to do something, they don't have to do it. And conversely, if they do, they do it. And using Israel as the kind of excuse that we now blame for it going wrong misses the point that it was an American decision at the same time. What do you say to that?
Well, I would tend to agree with you had I not been at the White House and in the executive branch. From the time that we came into this administration, the Iranians showed that they wanted to sit down at the negotiating table with this president because the president's policy of sanctions, but using force where necessary, like the assassination of Qasem Soleimani and Abu Mahdi Mohandas. It showed that the president wasn't going to take the bait of getting sucked into a regime change war, and that he was willing to do business and to negotiate. The Iranians reciprocated by holding back their proxies. The Iranians had also had a prohibition on the development of a nuclear weapon since 2003. The Israelis came in at the beginning of the administration as well and said, now is the time to take down the Ayatollah because of all the gains that the Israelis had made post-October 7th against Hezbollah, against Hamas, with Assad falling. The last domino, so to speak, in their plan to take over, or to at least eliminate their enemies in the Middle East, was to take down the Ayatollah. But what President Trump was trying to do at the beginning of the administration with getting the nuclear deal, it was a direct threat to that. So the Israelis used a wide variety of influence mechanisms that I saw firsthand to circumvent the normal intelligence process, but then also using donors, using influential Israelis, using the pro-Israel media environment in America to say that the president's policy actually was zero enrichment of uranium, knowing that that was a red line for the Iranians themselves. Trump attempted to kind of neutralize that with Operation Midnight Hammer by obliterating the uranium, but then we saw the Israelis come right back with the same pressure campaign and influence President Trump. And so this speaks to a flaw that we have in the American system by letting the Israelis, a foreign government, come in and have the access that they do to influence our policy decisions. So I can say with confidence that had the Israelis not had the degree of access that they did, we never would have gotten into this war. Now that we're in it, now that we kind of took the bait and we got in on, especially the decapitation strike that killed the supreme leader, this unfortunately very much is our war. Unfortunately, because of the access the Israelis have, they're still in a key driver's seat here. We're trying to get a ceasefire. The Iranians have said, what takes place in Lebanon is a key part of that, and we've seen massive escalations from the Israelis inside of Lebanon as well. So now we're stuck in this situation. So I don't seek to have any kind of further regime change efforts. I think that the sanctions could have been used as a tool to get us a deal with the Iranian regime. I don't think our efforts to do regime change in the Middle East have made America safer or made the regime more stable. I think that's a policy that we should completely abandon. And that's why I advocate us walking away from this conflict as soon as we can, engaging in quiet diplomacy with the Iranians, and then also restraining the Israelis by taking away a lot of the aid that we give them to prevent them from going on the offense and getting us sucked into more of these wars.
Joe, just quickly, Norman in 2018 posted, Israelis are Nazis, Nazis are Israelis. You posted 3 years after that, anyone who says Israel is a terrorist state is out of touch with reality. Would you amend not your response, but would you amend your own quote in 2021 now, given everything that's happened in the next 5 years? Many people do view Israel now as behaving like a terrorist organization in the way that they've accused others of behaving against them.
I would want to be specific because Israel is a country and it represents a wide variety of people, many of whom don't agree with the current government's policy. So I would say that there are elements of the Likud party that are acting in a terrorist way, considering what they've done in Gaza, what they're doing right now in Lebanon. So I think that would be accurate to say. But there's always nuance. I think a lot of the blanket, this group,
from
this
the
country
UK?
is purely terrorist is just wrong. We should be specific. My dispute mostly is with America allowing us to be influenced by the Israelis. But we do have a real problem with the Likud party. And if I were an Israeli, I would be very concerned with the path the Likud is taking the Israel on right now.
Yeah, I think there's no doubt. I view the behavior of people like Ben-Gvir increasingly as that of a psychopath. And, if you're trying to portray yourselves...
Ben-Gvir, yeah. We really think that he's acting not like a psychopath? Like 90% of the Senate? What are you talking about? And 90% of the Israelis? Oh, you're German. But you're from across the pond. That's all that matters. You're part of the fucking UK, aren't you? Oh, your beliefs are a particular way and you're looking for like-minded streamers?
As many Israelis have done it. We have the most moral army in the world, for example, and you've got someone like Ben-Gvir behaving the way he's behaving. It is a contradiction which is obvious to the entire world. Hence,
but you're still welcome here, as long as you're polite, even if you're not a leftist.
The decreasing popularity of Israel because of the actions of members of its government. And that's one of the issues, of course, of Netanyahu getting back into power by doing a deal with people like Ben-Gvir. I think it's coming back to haunt him. Let me just ask you, Norman. So on a...
My question for you is, and anyone in the UK is, what the fuck, bruv? What's up with your goddamn people banning people from coming in? Wow, what's your leaning? Communists got mad at you.
Lecture video for the Mint Press entitled "I Will Never Condemn Hamas" recently. You said the following.
After October 7th, for those of you who followed the Pierce Morgan saga, the first year after October 7th, the standard question was, do you condemn what Hamas did on October 7th? By the end of that first year, he was being mocked for that question. And then he subtly mocked.
Where did you guys diverge on the Communist National Syndicate? Want to play the fucking game?
What he thought was a rhetorical question. That is a question for which the answer ought to be obvious. Did Israel have a right to self-defense after October 7th? And that is a complicated, I believe, question.
Now, I've got a few issues with that, Norman. One, I have never deviated from asking people, do you condemn what Hamas did? Because I think the answer is very illuminating. If you can't, as a human being, condemn what Hamas did on October the 7th, then I find anything that people then say after that extremely hard to take seriously. And I don't care who's doing it. If you're murdering 1,200 people, wounding 7,000 more, kidnapping 250 plus, including Holocaust survivors and a baby, then you should just be condemned for what it is. So I've got no apology for saying that repeatedly or for continuing to ask people that question if I suspect the answer may be equivocal or they just don't want to answer or say no. And on the issue of Israel's right to self-defense, I've never disputed that Israel had not just a right, but a duty to defend itself after October the 7th from future attacks, not least because the Hamas spokesperson said on air, we're going to keep trying to do the same thing again and again. I've never deviated, actually, from either of those positions. My only deviation was that as the scale of the response and the self-defense went on, I increasingly began to view it as utterly disproportionate to what had happened, that the civilian slaughter that was going on with the...
Yeah, I'm anti-war. And I'm here Monday through Friday. Usually get off about another 20 minutes. On for 4 hours.
The excuse that, well, Hamas are living amongst civilians, I just felt no longer carried meaningful water. And that the whole thing was descending into, some people want to call it genocide. I have never called it that. I said that I think there's clear evidence from the rhetoric of people like Ben-Gvir and Smotrich that there is a campaign of ethnic cleansing that's going on in Gaza and in the West Bank. But, we can argue about the meaning of those particular phrases. There's a lot of civilians who've been killed, in my view, unnecessarily, and they don't add to the self-defense of Israel. In fact, if anything, I think they've had the opposite effect. They've made Israel more vulnerable and Jewish people around the world more vulnerable, as we're seeing. So, there's a lot obviously, to unpack in my response there. But just to be clear, I've not deviated from either of those two things that I said originally. I maintain them both now. It's just the scale of the Israel response, which I think became increasingly disproportionate. That has been, I think, where a lot of people have gone, like me.
Okay.
Sure, dude.
Let me just address the two questions, but let me just begin with a clarification. There are many social media accounts that have my name on it, in Instagram and Facebook. I'm not a social media person. I don't follow it. But I think you're aware it's very hard to take down those accounts. And I have to, the ones that are with my name on it. I do not believe I used the phrase, Israel are Nazis, Nazis are Israelis. It's possible I did. I don't want to claim 100%, but my memory doesn't resonate to that, and it doesn't sound like me. So it's possible that's one of the social media accounts, and I would be grateful before airing this if you can check it with your producers.
You know what? If you've raised concerns about the veracity of that, we will absolutely double-check it.
Yeah, thank you so much for that.
No, I appreciate it, because, of course, if you didn't say it, it gets perpetuated, so I don't want to do that.
Yeah, these number of accounts that have my name on it have proliferated out of hand because I don't do anything about it. I don't have the resources to engage with the social media giants. Now, on the specific questions, first of all, I never said or implied, I believe, that you had changed your position. I said those were your standard questions in the first year and then the second year. Now, as to the first question, you say that one loses, or effectively, one has lost his or her humanity by not...
It's time to balance your account. Your credits and the contents of your
vault
have been liquidated, along with any aftermarket shell upgrades. You have been reset to
Chatter, I also like to talk about politics and play games, and
the sum has been paid against your
people say the games and politics don't mix, but I disagree. Games are politics because politics are a game. Why do you think we talk about winning? So, where do you think Germany's heading, Rune Surge? as far as politically in the next 10 years. Realistically. Welcome to season 2. We're in. We're in. All your base art belong to us. The cradle. Two hours later. Oh. Let's go. Yeah, and the thing about politics is, I gotta turn something off. Equal single. And then isn't German politics like fucking Scheiße? What is happening? Level 0. Vaulted. Wiped. Huh? Shell select. Let's go.
Know your terrain and never give up an
Send
advantage.
There's the cradle. Oh, man. Hit the follow button. Oh, well, looking for rhinoids. Minister protection. I want a physical worm. Oh. What is that? Clicky. Too much to cover. CPU performance improvements. That should help me out, actually. Okay. Well, the cradle looks cool. This is new. I like this. Abilities guide. Defender system. Shoots down grenades. That's very handy. Okay, snare mind. Kind of like this. Submunitions that immobilize people. Oh, it puts like a shell on them. Okay. Prey tracker. Okay, this is what I like. Anyone moving. You got to be moving. Oh, reload was fast when you're in trouble. That's Castle Doctor. Cool. Seems like a pretty good shell. I'm gonna try it out. Let's try it out.
Ready to pick a fight.
Oh, customized profile. Okay. This is good. This is good. Accessories. Oh. It's new. Nice. How'd I get that? Primo reward? Primo. Weapon sticker. Accessories. I have 3 knives. This one's just too good. That's pretty cool too. Ooh, I kind of like that one. The edge is nice. It's also good. The edge. That's my first profile. This is new. Yeah, I like it. Let's go. Now, skin. Shell. Sentinel. And then... Wait. Huh? Mark all as seen. Assassin. Oh. What? Retro remix. Could buy this. Okay, they're okay. Yeah, I don't... That's the only one that's good. What the fuck? Way too conservative. Okay, you select a map. What? Let's go. Huh? Decided to give all to us, huh? That's what we want. We want the sponsored kit for Darmarsh Knight. Oh, cool. Okay. Go ahead. Okay, this is the same kind of. Oh, that's new. Maybe not. True.
Alert. Anomalous flares detected.
Here we are.
Avoid contact
First game.
to maintain your temporal grounding.
We're in, boys. Stocks are good. I don't need no light. Wonder why we didn't have a flashlight yet. Oh, I'm scared. What is this? Oh, cool.
Anomalous transport drone detected.
This gun's insane. Oh, Destiny people remember this? This looks so good. Holy shit. Oh my god, dude. Oh. Looks good to me. Oh, what's up there? Oh. 3 certs. Alright. There's two right there. Oh no. Gotta F it.
Let's see what we catch.
No! These fuckers suck. Okay. I don't think I want to fuck with him, right? I think I'm strong enough by myself with this stupid ass gun. What's Q? Forgot. What's my alt? Seem more aggressive? Jesus. It's raining now. That's cool. Oh shit. Yeah, they're more aggressive, alright.
Signal recall window closes in 20 minutes.
Snare set.
Fuck it, I'm gonna use it.
Planting defender.
What is that? Can I pick it up? Okay. What's my defender do? I said. Purple. Bitch. Couldn't even hear him. My god, the AI is actually insane.
Unleash UESC unit detected.
Fuck. What am I going to do with that? I can't find an elite. Is that one? Right there? Fuck. Got a heal, dude. Got no heals. Guess I better turn it up. Damn. All right, chat, I gotta go. Unfortunately. Now that I've gotten the game. Fucked up. Gotta go, folks. See you tomorrow.